Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport. Drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. Hope you're doing well out there. Thank you guys so much for joining us each and every week as we break down all the latest and greatest, hottest topics, most pressing issues here in the sport of drag racing. We can't do it without you. Remember to like and subscribe. Helps us out tremendously. We're working hard to grow our Drag Illustrated YouTube channel. Shout out to the whole team, killing it across the board, man. Content coming at people from all walks of the drag racing life. I couldn't be more proud of what our Drag Illustrated team is doing right now, and it feels like we're just getting started. We got a hell of a show for you guys today. We're going to be joined in just a few short moments by the one and only Tommy Franklin. PDRA Pro Nitrous superstar, just scored a huge win at the PDRA East Coast Nationals out in Benson, North Carolina. Then we'll check in with Richard Gadson at the top of the hour to talk about all things Pro Stock Motorcycle, these emerging rivalries, all the drama and intensity that exists in the Pro Stock bike division. And then we're going to round out the show. I'm excited for this. Nate Prader, the father of streetcar bragging rights, just a couple days removed from a fantastic event at Rockingham Dragway in North Carolina. So we're going to check in with Nate, talk about his Ferris wheel. That's one of the things I'm perhaps most is just seeing him kind of steal this whole Ferris wheel deal from me. I was slow on the draw with this. My guy shot me down for years, and now it's pretty obvious that I should have pulled the trigger. But anyways, we got a big show for you guys today. Excited to have you. Mike, JT, how we doing, boys? We doing good? Mike, it's good to see you. JT, good to see you. Where you in the living room, T?
Good. Nope, on the porch.
Oh, okay.
At the Mizzou, representing.
Yeah.
Representing. Hey, who shot you down on the Ferris wheel? Are you saying we shot you down on the Ferris wheel?
Well, I think
probably the eye rolls.
The eye rolls, probably.
Yeah.
Well,
but
I don't know.
NHRA has a Ferris wheel too. So
I know
this is
another thing. So this all. I'm not
Ferris
saying
wheels are boring. Come on, let's.
I'm not saying
roller
Ferris
coaster
wheels were my idea entirely, but I will tell you, going back to 2019, I've been throwing this Ferris wheel idea out there, right? Like, really feel like we need to have a Ferris wheel. If I stole it from anyone, I stole it from Formula One. Those guys hardly put on a race where there's not a Ferris wheel involved. So anyways, in 2019, I really wanted to bring one to Orlando for the World Door Slammer Nationals in 2020. Obviously, we were putting together an event in like 90 days, and it just didn't seem realistic. Year two, we were just kind of starting to see through the fog of COVID, and I just let it go. Then we take 22 off on the heels of COVID, and then we bring World Series of Pro Mod down to Bradenton Motorsports Park, and I really wanted to get one for that event or the Pro Superstar Shootout, and it was we just didn't pull the trigger. We should have done it at the pro race. We should have, we probably had that was where we had the most budget, I think, to work with.
It would have been
another thing to that race.
It would have been one of these situations where it's like, hey, we don't have a big budget. JT, go get a job at a carnival for a couple weeks, and then steal the Ferris wheel
for that. That's right up your alley.
Yeah, I'll get a couple more warrants and I'll go apply.
It takes a few, Jesus. It takes a few, man. It takes a few warrants, I think, to even get. I got to go share this on my Facebook. I apologize.
I didn't either.
It's terrible when we don't do that, man.
The only Ferris wheel I really liked was the Link. Was it the Link? Is that what it's called in Vegas? That we
in Vegas? Yeah. It's cool.
All inclusive. Yeah, all the drinks you can drink. Boy. And we tried to drink as much as possible around one circle. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm not like a Ferris wheel or a rides guy. Like I'm not a carnival rides person or amusement park rides person.
I don't trust fair rides. If you bring them in on a trailer, I don't trust them. But if they're bolted to the ground permanently, then I can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've ridden, like, I'll go to SeaWorld or like Worlds of Fun. Well, I guess I don't think it exists anymore. Six Flags.
What are you riding, Willie or whatever at SeaWorld?
Dude, don't sleep on the rides at SeaWorld. The rides at SeaWorld in San Antonio.
I can picture you splashing about riding the back of the damn orca.
Dude, I would ride an orca if they'd let me ride an orca. I'm way more into riding orcas than I am Ferris wheels. Fact.
Can you get on mini rides? Sorry, bro. Well, it was teed up.
I'm not that short. I'm not.
You can take him anywhere in the world and have fun, except Worlds of Fun.
Golly, man. It's what a deal, dude. What a deal.
Hey, Aaron Coy wants to know, is there ever going to be another pro race?
Aaron Coy, nah, probably not. I mean,
not as it existed for that. Really, that year. I don't even think the second year, in name only.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was a lot different. I think I remember telling you guys when we did that race, like, if we only do this once, we've got to be okay with it, because
that was definitely the plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we may only do this once. I don't know, what's going to come of this. I knew the economics of it were challenging. That's one of the things people just don't realize, is how expensive these events are, the risk that they represent. But I think it served its purpose. Does that make sense? Like, I think about all the things that have happened on the heels of that event. I mean, I think that was it tore down walls in the NHRA pro ranks. That entire community is tighter knit now than I would argue ever before. And I don't know that it's, there's still a lot of, some heated rivalries, and there's some teams that, genuinely don't see eye to eye. But I do think that there is, that event served as something of a catalyst or a kicking off point for this realization in the group that, like, hey, we've got to think outside of ourselves, beyond the ropes of our pit stall, and think about this whole sport, and what's good for one of us is good for all of us type of situation. And it served its purpose, don't you think, Mike? It was like a moment in time. It really felt like this may be something that never happens again. And if that is what happens, I think it served its purpose.
Yeah, and I mean, not even just that, but look at other events. I mean, I feel like it was a little bit of a turning point. We talk about the health of independent events now, and not saying we invented that or anything, but it was probably the grandest stage of an independent type of event that you could have, and to have all those no one was missing when you count on the active superstars that are racing in NHRA right now, or were. No one was missing, and they were all there, and they were all packed into BMP, and it kind of set the stage for what we're doing with the Winter Series now, and just raised that whole bar. So it was a hell of a deal.
The pressure,
hell of a time.
I think about the stress. I mean, one of the questions I got asked several times was, man, why do you guys have John Force parked like at the back of the pits, right? And I had to tell people, because I didn't really believe he'd show. And I didn't want to have, a big open spot in the middle of the paved pits. So I just wasn't convinced that he would actually show up. And he's probably one of the few people that we could put toward the back that would still get all the foot traffic that he needed. And I mean,
it's like putting the milk in the back of the supermarket.
It was, man.
Everybody's got to walk past everybody else to get down the first pit.
I believe 100% how it worked out. As well. It was 100% some of the strategy, but like also knowing that, like, okay, if they don't actually show up to this event, which I felt like was a real possibility. I mean, they paid their entry fees. They did all the things they were supposed to do. They had helped us promote it. Not crazy, but definitely were involved, and when they showed up, I mean, I think to me, that was still probably one of the highlights of my adult life, was just seeing all those people that came. I mean, because I got to tell you guys, I was reflecting.
Was it the same season because we did that in 24, right?
Yeah.
And then he had his crash later that year.
Yeah.
So that
in June, right?
Yeah, right. And we were talking about at that point, like this may be the only opportunity we get to have John Force at a race that we're.
I felt pretty confident. I felt pretty confident that we would never be able to pull this off ever again. And dude, just to think about the lay of the land and how that deal all worked. And I was thinking about this last night, just all, and this is something that we will be able to talk with Tommy Franklin about, but I don't know if you guys caught this week's episode of Boost and Bullshit. Steve King and Jason Harris, the host of Boost and Bullshit, had Johnny Camp on. And I got to tell you, man, this is a great time to be a drag racing fan. Like, if you're really a fan of this, there is more content, more people on camera, more racers sharing their thoughts and feelings than has ever happened. I watched that episode of Boost and Bullshit last night with like real, I felt like I was watching another sport broadcast, like just Johnny Camp talking about his staging process and things going wrong, and hearing him and Steve and Jason go back and forth about rules, and a little bit of Jason Harris kind of popping off about Stevie Jackson switching to a centrifugal. And I'm going, this is exactly what we asked for, guys. This is exactly what we've been pushing this group of people to do for 20 years, and it feels like it's finally happening. I mean, it's almost unbelievable. It's a great episode.
I got to go back and watch it.
The LDR guy
Jason
must have felt left out. So he's like, let's get in on this rules talk.
Yeah, there's some of that too. So now Jason's transitioned away from the weight to now his focus is Stevie Jackson. That's what I like about Jason is he's always got a target. I think that helps motivate him and keeps him going and keeps him at the top of his game. He's got to have he's got to find a chip on his shoulder, and that he does. That keeps it down. So that's the new chip. I saw some quotes and some stuff that we were tossing around, but that definitely will be interesting to see if that all comes to fruition as well.
Yeah, I can't decide if this is something that is just being thrown out there to kind of stir the pot. I know that one of the cars in the Killing Time Racing camp for sure is being converted. I don't know if it's how far along in the process they are to converting them all over, as Stevie reported on their podcast a couple of weeks ago. But nonetheless, it's just cool to see these racers like Johnny Camp. He did a great job on the show. He's not a guy that's like super verbose or looking for attention or anything like that. Typically one to let the car and the scoreboards do the talking for him, but he did a great job. And I was just across the board going, okay, this is fantastic insight that fans are getting that I would argue they've never gotten before. Like, just talking about all these nuances, and Johnny Camp was going on and on about his staging controller, Lamb staging controller, and how he's able to stage consistently, and it's really improved his lights, and the other drivers that have started using it, and the whole situation. I'm going, okay, it's really incredible. And I'm not, to kind of bookend this, but point back to Pro Superstar Shootout is I feel like some of the shit we've been screaming at people for 2 decades is like starting to break through. It's starting to cut through. Like, we're seeing these guys and gals really step in to celebrity. Like, hey, you're going to have to act as if. I mean, like, I saw Tommy Franklin on camera more this past weekend than I've ever seen him on camera. Melanie Salemi on camera a tremendous amount. Jay Cox talking to Kayla Morton about the rules, all these various things. This is real sports, man. Like, this is real sports coverage. And I just think it's a fantastic thing. It's how can you not be excited about it? I know that there's a lot of, scuttlebutt and there's drama over the rules, this, that. And I'll tell you, Jason Harris went on the record last night on their show and said, I think the weight addition was justified after what we saw. I think it was justified. He did make a valid point that he's still not sure that it's going to solve the problem of the screw blower guys running their stuff on the ragged edge and tearing up a bunch of stuff and going through multiple motors throughout the course of a weekend. And I do feel that may be something that has to be addressed. But I'll tell you, man, just the juice in the space right now is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. And just like you said, embracing it. That's the key thing. And it's going to be interesting to talk to Tommy here in just a few minutes when he jumps on. I did see a lot more out of him and a lot more, I don't know what the word is, not aggressiveness, but just he was definitely more willing to throw out, some material. It was great to hear. So, that's something, they're not really calling it a direct battle, but there's more competition out there now for, it's always pretty much been NHRA and PDRA. That was where you raced a pro mod for the
last decade.
You know what I mean? It's obviously IHRA, and then you've got all these independent events as well. I mean, we're forgetting about like Big Dog and Northeast Pro Mod and Midwest and stuff, but I would still put PDRA and NHRA as like those, when you're building a pro mod, those were you were good, kind of doing one or the other. And then now there's just so many places, not to mention all the other independent events like what we've talked about. And, maybe we're seeing a little bit of a turning point in how they're approaching things at the PDRA. And I'm excited to talk to Tommy about that.
Yeah, me too, man. I will tell you, I mean, the next month or two, I think, are going to be really interesting. We're going to see Pro Mod probably reach the busiest it's ever been in terms of the schedule and the amount of places for people to race and the amount of events and back-to-back events. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this group, Steve King on their podcast last night made a really good point. He said, I think that we are at the kind of last, it is this deal, Pro Modified being this deal, just kind of as a whole and whatever that encompasses, Pro Nitrous, Pro Boost, etc. It is reaching a level of professionalism that I don't know that anybody expected. I mean, we are at a level right now where there are a lot of eyeballs on this stuff. It doesn't matter where you fall in the drag racing world. You're likely at least paying a little bit of attention to what's going on in Pro Mod. And this is going to be an interesting time because you're asking teams and drivers and owners and crew members and everybody else that's involved, to be active on a level that we've never seen in Pro Mod. Like we can go back to like Mike, your dad, the glory days when guys were crisscrossing the country and running match races, but throughout the week. But that's a different thing than a 3-day national event this weekend, a 3-day national event next weekend, a 3-day national event the weekend after that, and so on and so forth. As I've mentioned a couple of times here on the show, I think there's right around 40 major Pro Mod events here in 2026. And it's a lot of racing, buddy. It's a lot of drag racing.
Yeah, look at
some of them are going to be on top of each other too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, we're going to see that. Haven't really seen that to this point, but we're going to see that coming up in a few weeks. And going back to Jason Harris, there's probably others, but I know that he's been the most vocal about it. They've been to all these events. They went to the entire Winter Series, and they've been to every IHRA and PDRA race to start the season. And they've all been local here to the North Carolina, southeast area of Virginia,
right?
And that is a lot of racing, and that team, they're used to that. They're equipped to do that, and have as much experience in all these classes doing this stuff as much as anybody. But that's tough on a team like that, especially when you're just used to basically running 8 races a year before all these things came about, and you kind of had your program geared that way. From a cost perspective versus attrition, these rule changes, wear and tear on parts. I mean, it's what's going to happen. Not to mention, trying to run a business. These guys are not professional racers. They run an auto repair business. And all the crew, we talk about the shortage of crew members, tuners. It places a stress on all those factors, and we'll see how that kind of plays out as we get through the dog days of summer.
Yeah, man, we're staring down the barrel of one. I mean, IHRA and PDRA going head to head in May. Really hate to see that. I understand it's limited real estate out there just in the world of scheduling these races. I mean, there's only so much you can do. Basically, the weekend of the 21st through the 23rd, you've got PDRA at VMP and IHRA at Maple Grove for the first of their Triple Crown races. Another thing that I'm pretty stoked about is just that, introducing some of this stuff to the space, I think is exciting, these bigger money deals and whatnot. But at the same time, and this is something we can probably talk to Tommy a little bit about, I do think that it's a dangerous it's a dangerous road to go down where all the onus is put on the prize money. You know what I mean? We've seen multiple times throughout the course of drag racing history that a big number at the top of a flyer does not necessarily mean a big race or a meaningful happening. Honestly, sometimes I think it lumps pressure on an event that it's not really ready for. Right. And an amount of scrutiny that it's not really ready for. So it's going to be really interesting, man. But I'll tell you, I thought that this past week, for me, one of the biggest storylines coming out of PDRA, or really the whole weekend, I just loved to see Keith Haney there supporting. Like, to me, that really spoke to my heart. Like, the Midwest Drag Racing Series event down here in DFW at Extreme Raceway Park was postponed due to weather. It was horrible weather weekend. We actually had a really nice Saturday, I think it was, Sunday. But the weekend was really, really tough with weather, rain coming and going. It got cold, etc. So Midwest makes the move to where's the green room at? There's an update here, and our guest, I can't find them. JT, we may have to work on this.
I was looking too.
Yeah, and so anyways, Keith Haney's race at XRP gets canceled, so his rig's already on the road. They decide, let's just roll on out to Galat and take part in the PDRA.
Oh, it's not Galat.
Oh yeah, Durana Motorsports Park, and go be a part of the PDRA. And I just thought it was just a fantastic kind of feel good moment. The way it all shook out, qualifies well, goes to the final against Tommy. Just a really, really, really great, in my opinion, just good drag racing, really close racing. We saw, the rules change, put us to, where is he at? Oh, there he is. I can finally see him. I was like, did they make enough of an update to this software that we're literally not?
I think so.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah. We're figuring it out, man. We're figuring it out. But anyways, in my opinion, a pretty solid damn weekend for the PDRA at Durana Motorsports Park. Thanks for the correction there. I was really happy for it. Craig and Nate on the property out there this weekend. Craig had a great time. I was excited to just talk to him and hear about. It was one of the first PDRA races that I believe Craig's ever been to, and really? I was glad to have a couple of. Yeah, man. I mean, we've always been like kind of regionalized. Nate and I would be the ones that would travel anywhere, but most of our team would be like, okay, Craig being in the Midwest, in the Kansas City area, we would have him handle Midwest. And, for a long time, I went to all the PDRA races, and then I wanted Nate to be the guy. So I passed it over to Nate, and I knew that if I went to all of them too, I would overshadow Nate's presence. And I think it worked out really well, because now Nate's like a fixture at PDRA and everybody knows him. And, it's really worked out well. But I don't know. I think that this is the feedback that I got from Nate and Craig, is just yet another reminder of the community, the strength of that PDRA community, going and being there amongst this people, that there's still a lot of momentum and excitement and enthusiasm. And as we talked, I felt like you saw it on camera with, Tommy and all these different people doing interviews and just really walking around with their chest puffed out about what they're doing. And I think the racing was absolutely fantastic, to be honest.
You have to attribute some of that to Flow also. PDRA's worked with them for a number of years. Obviously at this point we have as well. And we're all kind of giving our input. They're doing a better job with the top end interviews. They've got Caleb Morton on there. Like, you've got to have just those alone add so much. The between round interviews and the trailers and pits, kind of getting the dirt. Much. All that stuff adds such depth to the event, rather than just, cars going down the track. So they're really stepping that up also. So I think that it's a partnership, just like anything.
Yeah, there's no doubt, man. I'm genuinely excited to see like what the future holds and how all this stuff plays out, man, because there is no doubt that it's a very, as exciting of a time as I think exists right now. It's also perilous. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of racing going on. There's a lot of things happening, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm really proud of what the PDRA has put forth here in 2026. I think it's going to be fun to watch. Ladies and gentlemen, we got the man of the hour here, an absolutely titanic performance this past weekend at the PDRA East Coast Nationals, as I mentioned, at Durana Motorsports Park in Benson, North Carolina. Let's give it up for the PDRA's own Tommy Franklin. I'm the only one clapping. Well, what's going on, Tommy?
I got it.
Thank you. Okay, I'm glad. I just want to make sure. What's up, Tommy? How you doing, brother? Congratulations on a hell of a weekend.
Doing good, thank you guys. Appreciate it. You said Titanic. My ship was sinking on Q1, Q2.
Titanic, yeah. Not the Titanic, a Titanic, like big and impactful, Tommy. Not the Titanic. But no, it's I tell you what, I was a little bit worried in that final. That's not a version of Keith Haney, that we've seen in a hot minute, where his lights looked pretty good. The car was running really well. I mean, take us through that final round. Like, what a kind of a Kodak moment in drag racing that was, to see the owner of the PDRA going head to head with the owner of the Midwest Drag Racing Series. Historically, that's been something that you would really only see like at the Winter Series or at the World Series of Pro Mod. Now, it was great to see that kind of moment organically happen. And I just think it was like I said, a storybook feel-good movie of the summer, Tommy.
It was. I mean, look, I told Kayla at top end when we were doing Q3, I was like, man, Q3, that's more nervous when you're outside looking getting in. That's more nervous than a final round. Now, you put yourself beside Keith Haney in the Midwest. I mean, of course, it's back at the same level. So, but first of all, thanks to Keith for coming out and supporting us. I mean, he has before. It's not, we have a great relationship. So, great car. I mean, it's Jerry Boca race cars, Pat Measy Racing Engines, Brandon Schweitzer tunes that thing, and they're a beast of a team, So to come over there, run that good, and we expected them to run good, but they did. They showed up, and I think he was putting one down in the final round for sure, and it was but great racing. The whole weekend was just great racing. We talk about this all the time. When you have more cars than what the field, if it's a 16-car qualified field and you have 21 cars, it makes it different, right? It makes it different when you're sitting there trying to get in and you're not in. The nerves are everywhere. So, of course, that changes the whole vibe of everything. And right. And you talk about the vibe of the weekend, and that's where it comes from. You're all worried about it. Otherwise, you're just testing all day long and seeing what kind of passage you want to do and prepare for tomorrow. So that's 2 races in a row. Darlington, we had 20 cars, 21 cars at Durana. So great to see, thanks to all the Pro Nitrous competitors coming out. We lost a couple at this one, but picked up a couple. So that's what's good, and that's what we need. And the series, all of it, it's good. We have great car counts. Everything's wonderful. So, I think that we're going to continue to do what we do. That's what I've said all along. It's all we can do. There's a spot for us out here where there's I think I've said it a couple times. I feel like I'm just beating the dead horse, but it's a special thing what PDRA has. It's a special group of people, special group of racers, and that's what that's what it felt like so far every race this season, and we knew that. It wasn't a surprise, but coming into Pro Nitrous this week, the competition is tough out there right now, so it's good. I love it.
No, I mean, I think the competition across the board, like just what we're seeing in Pro Mod, I don't know that, 5-10 years ago, if you told me there'd be this many quality cars, this many world-class drivers, guys that are really taking this on and taking it seriously. I mean, you can't go up there and be a slouch on the tree anymore. You can't rely on the car outrunning anybody anymore. Everybody's close. It's reached a fever pitch. And I think you're right, man. And we talk about it a lot, and I don't mean to belabor it, Tommy. I mean, we're obviously very staunch supporters of what you do with the PDRA, but I think there's a lot of truth in that. In those communities like you guys have built, that's not something that happens overnight. It's something that takes time. It takes consistency. It takes a real commitment. And I'm glad to see the level of support that you guys have gotten. We're going to have some interesting weeks, weekends in the coming months, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. No point in completely ignoring, that there's, obviously some options in the space that haven't existed in the past. But I do think that you guys have done a fantastic job of just, hey, we're going to do what we do. We're going to do it at a high level, and we're going to live with, we're going to let the chips fall where they may, man.
And even in your interview, you said it in kind of an interesting way. And I kind of wanted to pick your brain on this. You said, this is the PDRA. This is what it's always been, community, family based. This is what we built this on. This isn't corporate America, and it never will be, is what you said in kind of your winner's interview. What, as far as a, what did that mean? And it's, obviously we get the first part, We're talking about that, and we knew that, but what does that term mean? I've seen some comments online this week about it. It definitely got people's attention, but kind of what in your mind, how does that term relate to what you do at PDRA versus other options out there?
Yeah, I think that, there's been a lot of thought and discussion of what the PDRA is and what we want it to be. And over the last year, we've been able to discover a lot of that, right? And having a national footprint is great, but then you don't get all the same players, right? All the players change when you go town to town and things like that. And one of the biggest things that kept me vested in PDRA was the group of people that support us, so we talked about this a lot at the end of last year. And when you see guys that come up and talk about, I haven't won a PDRA man yet, and I want to win a PDRA man, and the fact that they are chasing that and that's important to them means a ton to me. So, I made the decision, obviously, that says, hey, we're going to stay what we are. I don't want, I don't mind spreading our wings a little bit and going a little further, but, big business world is a big business world, and it has its perks. There's no doubt. I mean, obviously we see the money going around. There's no angst here against anybody. I just want to say that, I have a great relationship with all the other players that are out there, and that's the way I want to keep it. I want to keep it a great relationship because I think we're all stronger together than we are fighting at each other. So, the only part of that I can control is the part that I can control, right? I mean, I try to stay in our own lane. We do what we do. We're going to continue to build ours and try to grow what we do organically. And I think what that probably comes to is, as we've seen in the past, it isn't as fast, right? It takes longer to get there. There isn't a huge just surplus of money to push us to where we want to go. And props to anybody that has that. That doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, but I think that's what makes us special, is the fact that we've all grown along. It's no different than your kids growing up in your family. You've grown along all that time, and we see it and we feel it, and we've seen the struggles of a rain out, or struggles of having 550 cars on property. We've been on both sides of that. So they're all struggles, but to come through them and be who we are today, that's what's most important. And I think my statement is really just saying that that's who we are going to be. I don't want to be different than that. And I'll be honest, I think there was a time that I thought I did. I thought that, hey, I'm not saying what our limitations are, and I'm not saying that we have limitations, but what I do know is I don't want to be big to the fact that you lose that connection with the people, and I don't want to be big to the fact that our players can't play everywhere we go. I want people to be able to travel to the events that we go to. I want people to be able to be a part of all the events that we do. So that might not fit everybody's agenda, and that might fit a lot of people's agenda. I feel like it fits the majority, and that's kind of where we're at. So, wasn't a dig at any way, but at the same time, I feel like we're finding out who we are. And it's weird how you find these things out. Sometimes you go through stuff and it's like, oh, okay. So I thought I wanted that, but I don't really want that. So, it's interesting, but yeah, the landscape is crazy out there, right? There's a lot of stuff. And again, props to the stuff. When I see money coming into our industry, I think that's great. When there's money being invested into drag racing, I think that's great. Anything I've ever put into the sport was for the good of the sport. So whether it's as much money or 10% of the money, it's my money that goes into it to do it. So it all should matter, and that's the point. Is anybody that wants to put their time, effort, money, anything that goes into it, we all have to welcome that goes into this sport, because this is the sport we love. I think the players in it are the ones that kind of make it messy. It's always we're very guilty. We're competitors, right? So, and I'm talking about racers, right? Racers want to stack everybody against everybody, when the real truth is we're all shooting for the same thing. Now, is it possible to keep off of top of every race? No, it's not. You know, I mean, we've done a pretty good job. We've you know, we did the best that we could. We thought we were clear. It ends up that we're going to have one on top of. You know, there's a couple races out there that we end up on top of each other. So yeah, we'll see. You know, we might see a little pain from that. They might see a little pain from that. Whatever that does. But we'll make it through. You know, I mean, that's the only thing I can do is ask people. I've always said the same thing. You come out and support us, I'm going to give it my all. And as long as there's people lining up at the gate, which there has been these last two, you know, first two races, I will continue to try to push this thing, you know, forward into another level, because that's what we do, you know, every weekend. So,
dude, I think you make a couple of good points. Like, first and foremost, that whole cast of characters situation you're talking about, I think that's more important than people realize. I mean, that's something that, you know, we've seen, and this happens in NHRA. It happens with every traveling national series, is that you get like regional contenders, guys that you only see show up when you're out on the West Coast, or guys you only see show up when you're in the Midwest. And I think that there's actually some smart promotional ammo or juice to staying in that region and making sure that the cast of characters that is introduced to your fan base at the season opener is the cast of characters that they're going to be able to look forward to see and race and follow along, and you know, maybe reduce the chances of some complete unknown local guy from the West Coast or whatever showing up to your race in Phoenix or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's great that we're going to see this same cast of characters, and that's what made all this rule drama so interesting. You know what I mean? And exciting to follow, because as much of a pain point as that is for those of us in the promotion world and running these sanctioned series, it's a total nightmare. But the fact is, man, it had people talking. And I know that I think that it had more eyeballs on what was going to happen in Galat than anything else could have. You know, all of a sudden we're getting to know these guys. We're seeing them more frequently. We're seeing them race each other more frequently. We know they're all fired up about this rule deal. So we want to see what happens when Jason Harris and Ty Tutterow line up, right? Or we want to see what happens when Randy Weatherford and Kurt Stedding line up. So I think that there was some, that, as painful as those things can be, all the rule controversy and drama, I don't know, man. I think it showed some value. Just the hubbub. Mike, didn't you feel that too? Like, just no people doubt. Cared. Yeah. We're paying closer attention.
Yeah, and it definitely it pushes everybody, and it gives, like we were talking about Jason Harris, it gives him a new chip on his shoulder to kind of go after. And at the end of the day, a lot of times the changes we had to make during the winter series, the changes you guys made, NHRA made, it seems to be working out so far. I mean, I would say the racing was as good as you could get at Durana this past weekend. And now you've seen to have both combinations right there. You know, it's a never ending battle, but you know, it kind of goes on to the next week to see how it plays out. But for now, it seems like the right decisions are being made, or at least, you know, what you're able to make temporarily in the moment or mid season. And so it's something that, like you said, is a pain point, but can also be harnessed as a point of interest. And I feel like you guys, like you talk about your growth and learning who you are over time, or how this whole deal works. Yeah, I don't think you guys shied away from it either. And I think that kind of rolled in there, put on this show, and I think everything worked out to, like, we're all going to be okay. It's you know, the racing competition's still going to be tight. We're not going to lose any cars. These guys are just going to figure it out and come right back to it. So from that point, I really think that there's, honestly, you know, it's kind of like there's no such thing as bad ink type of situation where leaning into it actually ends up in your favor.
Yeah. You know, I'll be the first to say, and Wes and I have talked about this before, that, you know, I'm way too emotionally attached to the racing, right? And I hate seeing a racer unhappy. I hate seeing any of that. I try, and most will argue that this isn't the case, but I try really hard to stay away from the rules, because I don't, you know, I'm a competitor, so I don't want to have my hands in it. And plus I just don't want to be involved with it at that level. I hear the stuff. You know, we see it go through. I kind of try to make sure there's nothing's falling off the rails, but I really kind of stay, you know, at just a step back from it. But when both sides are screaming and everybody's unhappy and this and that, and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, you just hate that. Now, I will say this, that I was told a long time ago: when you get all combinations yelling, you must be really close on rules.
You're good.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you are. You're good.
The one piece I'll say to it, and this kind of is a testament to no different than what you guys do at the Winter Series, no different than what we did all last year and do every year along with the other series. The amazing part is we're screaming over very small numbers. You know, we come from an era of fields being separated by 10th and a half and just, you know, you have a couple cars. Well, those days are over. I mean, now we're all screaming over he has 1 number advantage or 2 number advantage, and it's like, you know, guys, we'll get it right. And that's when everybody calls me, that's the only thing I say to them is like, look, I trust in what they're doing. We're doing it based off of data. Yes, everybody comes to argue their point and their fact, and
you can make numbers do some wild shit, right?
Oh,
I mean,
gosh.
Yeah, you can make the math serve a
we
lot
saw all the
of different
presented to us
serve a lot of different missions.
Yeah, but the real, and that's what I tell them at the end of it is, no matter what, we're going to make whatever adjustments that needs to happen. And you know, we can talk about hypotheticals all day long, but all we can do is what's on who shows up, who races, and that's what we base it on. And really, I feel like, you know, our rules are close enough that why are we even talking about it? But hey, I get it. Everybody wants to go out there and know that they have a fair shot. And I get it. I'm a racer as well. You know, there's a lot of people out there that find loopholes and trying to get something that nobody else has. And maybe I'm just not wired that way. I'm just not. You know, look, I started racing in Mountain Motor Pro Stock, you know, or when we get to heads up racing, it was like that really appealed to me because I knew if I got my teeth kicked in, it was by somebody that had the same stuff as me. We're sitting on the starting line the same way. Probably what appeals to me in Pro Nitrous as well, because, you know, when you start getting categories mixed, especially with the boosted stuff, just imagine, you know, trying to keep all that stuff, you know, it's great for the rule controversy, but it sucks for knowing that you're beat by a rule book per se. So, you know, parity is hard. I'll tell everybody here, and I'll tell everybody like I always tell everybody, I only want what's good for the sport and what's good for the classes at PDRA. When we make a change, it's based on what's good for the classes at PDRA. And in my mind, it's what's good for the whole, you know, longevity of the sport. There was a lot of discussion about, oh, you know, y'all are just trying to slow Pro Boost down and this and that and blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. I know my mindset is not that. Do I want to see it speed up? I don't. I think that would hurt us in the long run. If I was a selfish promoter, I would just cut the rules loose, let them go, give everybody as much overdrive and as much blower and everything that they want. And we would be sitting in the situation of watching another class fail. I first-handedly watched Pro Extreme fail, okay? Under the PDRA umbrella, we watched it. Eventually, when there are no rules and you can just do and have whatever you want to do, it just gets watered down and it just kind of runs out. Things are different now. Screw blowers are in Pro Mod now when they weren't in the Pro Extreme days, you know, and there's centrifugals that weren't there in those days. So the landscape's changing and there's a place for everything. But I just think that what I don't want is, and I don't want to say anything that makes any class look bad, but we've seen classes just become plain vanilla. Everybody has the same thing. All have the same combination. It's just got a different color paint job or wrap, Mike. So, so you know, that's not what we need. That's not what we want. And I can't fix it all. You know what I mean? I can't roll it back and fix any of the mistakes or not even call them mistakes. We get where we're at. Racers want to go faster every single round. I get it. That's what we all want to do. But we've got to try to protect ourselves from running away from ourselves. And I think if we just keep uncapping it and just letting people go, that's what'll happen. And maybe I'm wrong for that. Maybe I shouldn't be trying to control what's not mine to control. But from a sport level, I think that that's what is needed to keep more people vested into it.
No, I wouldn't say that you're trying to control that selfishly or on your own at all. I think we're all kind of working together to try to keep that in check for those reasons that you
I don't
said
know that
Pro Extreme. I mean, that's
I don't know that everybody is as invested.
The world is another example of that too. Like anytime we've seen an unlimited class it ends up that same way. But at the end of the day, like you said, I think the scrutiny that we face now is just the enhanced spotlight that's on Pro Mod recently as a whole. And then the fact that you do have these two combinations in Pro Boost that are competitive now, that are kind of jockeying back and forth. And then also the fact that everybody wants to go faster, right? And all these cars are making so much power. I mean, these especially these boosted cars are just making more power every year, and they want to be able to use that power and not be held back. And I get that. But at the same time, if we do that, you're going to end up with another Pro Extreme, like you said. So it is a hard thing to tell these racers, like, we got to rein it in. But, you know, we have the same conversation whenever we talk about Winter Series. What do we want to do? Where do we think we need to try to have these rules to where these cars are running? And it gets away from you. Even our best effort, these cars were several numbers quicker during the Winter Series than we really thought they would be. And it's just the progression that the class makes year over year over year, or even between those events, due to just like the rapid development, especially of the centrifugal combination. So it is a really, really tough deal. But like you said, at the end of the day, I think that the smart thing is for everybody to kind of have the broader vision in mind, because that's really the health of Pro Mod. It comes from
it's long-term sustainability,
pretty close
like
rule
that's,
sets. Yeah, because
I mean, I agree with Tommy, and like literally that's what's written on my notes right here. I was just getting ready to ask, like, is Pro Mod too fast? You know, because I heard some of that, Tommy. I was getting calls like, oh, Tommy just doesn't want it to be faster than nitrous, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, that is never a conversation that I've had with Tommy ever. We've never even talked about like that. To me,
but that's the reason why you have Pro Nitrous. I mean, that's
right.
You know, so you don't have to worry about that.
Well, and I don't think that there's like a real hierarchy battle between Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, they're obviously two classes, but like this is our marquee offering, these two classes, right? Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost. We're not trying to put an extra oomph behind one of them, not for nitrous because Tommy races there. Like, these are the marquee classes. I see all these guys, whether you're Jay Cox, Melanie Slimmy, or Mike Achenbot and Freddie Scribe, like, they're all treated like rock stars. They're all treated like big deals. Like, nobody gets a lesser than treatment. But I think you're 100% onto something, that there is a threshold where and it won't take much. It's like death by 1,000 cuts type of thing, where we get and closer to this edge of where it's just the work, the money, the tearing stuff up, the fun goes away. And a lot of times I think that is something that, you know, I had this conversation with Dwayne Mills. He's like, last race we were at, we had to put 4 racks in it. That's not fun. You know what I mean? Like, we worked our ass off, like never, you know, and he goes, and that's like, there's a time and place for that. And there are moments where it happens. He goes, but that is hard to get excited about week in and week out and week in and week out. And I think that that's a directly correlated to 354. You know what I mean? Like, if we're going to go this fast, y'all better be prepared to have a top fuel level crew with you. And you better be prepared to be sore and tore up come Saturday night or Sunday morning or whatever, because you're going to have to work hard. And it's such this delicate battle. And I've talked about it for decades now, it seems like, but there's this ongoing identity crisis in drag racing, right? Where we do something that is seen as a professional thing, right? This is the highest level of door slammer drag racing. But the reality is that a fraction of the people involved actually earn a living from the sport. So it's like, it doesn't take too many of those rough weekends in a row to go, screw it, you know, pull a Rob Goss and get home from the races and put everything up for sale. You know what I mean? Like, in that, and I think that you're wise to try to be stopping that. Because I don't know that the car, like, this is not a popular sentiment, right? Like, this is not anything the fans want to hear. But I personally don't think your show would have been any better or worse at Durana, if the cars were running 365 or 355. Like, I think nobody in the grandstands, and we love to see the big numbers. We love to see the records set. But does it really matter? 100th of a second or 10th of a second? I would argue it doesn't. And I think that there's a couple hundred cars in the country that can run in the 60s.
Yeah.
Right. There's not that many that can run mid to low 50s.
That's right. I think you're right that of course we're all driven by the numbers. Every racer, I am too, right? I want to go out there and it's like, hey, if you go 373, it's like, what's that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So burn this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I get it all. And you touched on a piece of it about the guys that do this for a living, and props to the ones that have, you know, I mean, there's a few out there that have, so props to them. I know Ricky Smith's the first one that comes to mind, and I think that's awesome that he's been able to do that. But I think the problem that we run into is everybody that is racing right now has a short-term mindset. They don't, I'm not going to say they don't care about the longevity of the sport, but they look at it as, hey, I'm going to do this for a few years because I can, but this isn't how I'm going to feed my family, so it doesn't matter. If I take it or leave it, it doesn't matter. So they've all got this mindset of, I'm going to go do what I can do now because I have the opportunity to do it. So they lose sight of the rules and where the classes go. And I'm not trying to make anybody a bad person, but
No.
I think that's what makes it different on the promoter side of it is, you know, sustainability is something that I've beat on like crazy with PDRA, and I want to stay, you know, that we are sustainable. And you look at it and we see throw big money at it, do this, and it's so hard to come back from that. So, you know, if you raise the purses and then you have to lower them, well, just close up, because it you know, it's a hard deal. So, you know, I've tried to go back. I've tried to be very careful. I take every dime that PDRA makes and put right back into PDRA. It's always been that. You know, there's the people that live in fantasy land and think that these things make a ton of money, and oh my gosh, they're out here just, you know, banking money like crazy. You know, come on over, I'll show you the books. I have no problem with that, but that's not the point. You know, I mean, what we're doing is just trying to grow with what we have. And unfortunately, there's not an abundance of money that it self-generates from sponsorship, from gate sales, from that it self-generates. You know, I wish there was, you know, I mean, I wish that the manufacturers could afford to do more. I wish that, you know, all of that, you know, I mean, I say that all the time, that all we are from PDRA standpoint, all I do is provide a platform for people to come in and sell their product and race their cars. That's it, right?
It's a showcase, man. I mean, what more can you say for Pat Musey? What has the PDRA meant for a Pat Musey? What's the PDRA meant for an M&M transmission or any of these chassis builders, right? But to your point, there are so many events and so much stuff going on that, you know, it's hard for a lot of those brands to support them all to the level that they probably deserve to be supported. So then you see guys that just don't do any sponsorship. I'm not going to get involved in anything, right? I mean, I know, Tommy, you and I have ran into a bunch of those over the years, right? Yeah. Guys that just ride the sidelines, you know? And I don't think that's the answer, but I also understand the challenge that exists, you know, of trying to support everybody. I'm curious, Tommy, like, how have you managed, like, knowing that you and I have a lot of similarities in like people pleasing and trying to get along with everybody and not having, is it as hard for you as it is for me to separate the social post or whatever, some snide comment somebody makes, and know that like, that's like the comment they're making with their helmet on, and that I could see this person 5 minutes later and it's going to be hugs and high fives and great to see you. How hard is that for you to not, you know, to be a competitor, to be someone who cares a lot about the sport and massively invested in the sport of drag racing, you know, but also like head honcho at PDRA? How hard is that to manage?
It is. It's I've gotten good at it, but the suck part is, to get good at it, you have to almost just not care or not read it or not even, you know, which sucks because it ruins the sport for you, right? What you want to be able to go read and just jump right into what's going on. You're like, oh my gosh, even if it's somebody else's rules. I mean, it's a little bit easier when somebody else's rules. I'm like, not my problem today, but you know,
it probably will be tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. The truth is, you feel for those people then, and you're like, this is crazy, you know, and I'm really convinced that people think they can type on the internet and they don't think that they're talking to anyone. I'm like, look, maybe I'm wrong, but when somebody types about PDRA, it goes straight to me. I'm like, hey, you just talked about me. You talked about my family. You talked about, right? I'm like,
yes, sir.
And maybe I shouldn't take it as personal. I get it. It's a business and we make business decisions, and shouldn't think about it from a personal standpoint. But the truth is, it's not. You know what I mean? It is this is a passion. This is something that if I was if this was my only business, I'd be in trouble, right? I mean, it's the truth, you know. So I love that. I love that it can get people's emotions moving, but I also hate that they think that there's not somebody on the other end of their post. And I think that's social media in general, right? I mean, people just type away and it's like, who do you think's listening to that? You know what I mean? Or reading that. But you know, look, we grew up in just a world of there's good guys, bad guys, right? So everybody's going to build their story. I mean, movies are made this way. Everything's built that way. There's always a good guy and a bad guy. So I think that's the problem, or not necessarily a problem. I think that's what exists is people just build their agenda. They want to have it. Some guys want to rank for want to pull for the underdog, and some guys want to pull for the number one qualifier, right? So that's fine. There's a place for both of it. And to answer your question, that's the only way I can cope with it is just to know that, hey, everybody can be different. We don't all have to be the same. And I try really hard not to.
Oh no, phone call. Right there. Somebody's probably calling to tell him, talk to him about rules. If I had to guess, calling to talk about rules.
Yeah. He'll jump back in here in just a second.
Yeah, he'll be back.
We'll wrap up with him and get on to Mr. Richard Gadson. He's got a lot going on this weekend, but man, here's Tommy.
So
he's back. The old dreaded phone call in the midst of the live stream. It happens to the best of us, my friend. Don't feel bad.
That's right.
No,
that was Jay Cox calling about rules. No, I'm joking.
I literally almost said it was probably Jay Cox.
Said that too. Damn, all three of us had the same thought.
Oh, dude!
Jay's gonna say he lives in our head rent free, right?
I was salty. I was salty with Jay over the weekend because I called him last week to do an interview about the rules, and he's like, "I ain't getting into it. I ain't talking about it. I ain't going on the record." And I said, "Bro, you're all over Facebook saying shit. Like, I need you. Like, if you're gonna say this,
he says he wasn't all over Facebook either. He he made 2 comments."
And I'm like, all right, fair enough. And we don't got to talk about it. And we end up, I love Jay, and we had a great conversation. We talked about all sorts of stuff. But then the next thing I know, Saturday rolls around at the PDRA race, and Caleb Morton's in his trailer, and boy, oh boy, is he opening up on it. And I said, all right, that's fine. That's fine. I'll just take these quotes and turn them into a story. No problem. Because I'm going to get them come one way or another. But no, it's an interesting time, man. And Tommy, we're really glad because I know that your heart's in the right place. And I know I've seen firsthand what you've built with the PDRA, your whole group, yourself, Judy, your kids, Tyler, Vinny, I mean, everybody, Crystal, I mean, Will, everybody that's been involved in this deal and bled PDRA for the last decade plus. I mean, I think that there's a reason that you guys have stood the test of time the way you have. And it's rooted in that community that you've got, man. I mean, I think you have racers that are, prepared to, I mean, like, you don't have to spend much time on the phone with like a Fletcher Cox as an example to know that he's going to race wherever PDRA plants are flagged, and I think that things like that are very telling, and the fact that these guys may say whatever, they're not coming, they're going fishing or whatever, but guess what? Gates open and they're in line, you know what I'm saying? And I guess you just got to take some solace in that type of stuff, man. So hell of a weekend for the PDRA. Just overall, Pro Nitrous looks really good. I mean, moving forward, do you feel like going into the next race coming up, we're a month out? I mean, does that, how much growth do you think Pro Nitrous has? I mean, now that there's like a singular home, which I know some people have argued is bad, but at least there's a singular reliable home, a reliable home that has proven for better than a decade that you're going to have a place to race this $500,000 nitrous equipped race car. I mean, to me, like there's some real value to that. You know what I mean? I
think there is. I mean, look, we've not to shy away from any of it. We've watched this with Mountain Motor Pro Stock. We've watched this with Pro Nitrous. There's cars out there that need to be able to, people race for different reasons, right? Some people don't want to show up and just get in a field that is a given to get in. They like the competition side of it. The fact that, there's only been one place for Pro Nitrous to race for a long time. So, it's like, I think what everybody with nitrous cars have to realize is, hey, we have to get on board and support this. The things that hurt that is when you see other combinations or other races rise to the top. And that's the hard part, right? And not to knock you guys, but, we've talked about this with the Winter Series. There's not been a real place to come and for the bulk of the nitrous guys to come down there and race to do it. Honestly, I think under current rules and current format of what we race as a nitrous car, that ship is probably long sailed. So for the ones that are spreading the rumor that I'm trying to slow down Pro Boost to get it to Pro Nitrous, that's not the case for multiple reasons. Me, Tommy Franklin personally, I don't want the rule drama. I don't want, it would probably ruin it for racing for me. From a promoter standpoint, from a business standpoint, of course, it's a double purse. Who wants that? But that should make people realize that I have taken and kept a class separate, even though it's costing us double the money every event to have a Pro Nitrous class to try to preserve nitrous racing. Maybe I'm biased. I am biased. It's some of the coolest racing out there, period. It is the coolest racing out there.
There's no sexier way to go drag racing.
There's not, and
there's not.
I'm getting arguments from
terrible to say, but when a screw car blows up and you hear that, pew, that's kind of cool. But when a nitrous car, launches the hood scoop or smoke out the pipes or whatever it may be, or flames out the pipes, they're just
nitrous
cool.
Purges. Say no more. Just nitrous purges. We cannot allow a world of pro mod to exist where that's not a part of the conversation. And I think you're largely right, man. We've kind of, resigned ourselves to the fact that I don't know that we can't, the gap is wide enough now that I don't know that there's any, you know what I mean? I just don't shoving a round peg in a square hole type of situation,
without slowing everybody
or square peg,
down.
round hole.
Yeah, without slowing everybody down drastically, which you see the sentiment that comes with the people that think that that's what I'm doing. So
right,
just words for the wise. Don't try that. They don't like that. But
no,
it's not what I was trying to do at all. I'm not trying to slow down Pro Boost at all. And I act like I'm out here planting this flag saying this is what we got to do. That's not the case. I just knew that when there was a rule adjustment that felt like it needed to be done, I was like, hey, this is a good time that we can be adults and say, let's not speed up the whole class. Let's let everybody, let's bring these back instead of bring these up. That was the only thing that's done there. So you're right. I just think that nitrous racing is cool. We can keep it on the same level playing ground. It's no different than Top Fuel and Funny Car, right? When you promote Top Fuel and Funny Car, I think it's pretty arguable to say that John Force is the biggest name in motorsports, and he does not have the fastest car at the racetrack. The Top Fuel car is faster than him, right? So the way I look at that right now is that's who Pro Nitrous is. We are the funny car of the fuel ranks. So we have the names, we have the characters. Jay, I know Jay misses this. I beat on Jay a lot because Jay and I go back and forth a lot. So he's probably laughing at me when he hears this, and I'll get the call later. But it's don't call now, Jay. It'll screw up
yeah, come on now. Work with us.
Yeah, but it really is. I think that there's a place for all of it. I want people to get back in that mindset that says, hey man, I can afford to build a nitrous car. I know how to tune a nitrous car. I can race a nitrous car. That's what I want to see. Anybody that's out here when people jump ship and go to stuff, they're out here, oh my gosh, it's so much cheaper to run this boosted class. It's like, shut up. Anybody that believes that, they're also the ones saying that, there's no rule changes needed, right? So it's not the case. They're all on the same level playing ground. The competition's good. We just need to keep the classes strong and come out there and race with them. And I'm not mad about anybody that goes to race anywhere. You have a car, you should race it wherever you want. And you should do that. I just say that if I'm going to go out here and continue to pour my heart and soul and pour anything I have to put in or need to put in or try to grow or spend the time and effort to continue to do it, that all I really want is people to support us. And, when as that happens, then I'll continue to do this forever. And, our sportsman classes are so huge and awesome. I love it. They do a great job. And our pro classes have done very well. Pro Nitrous has had the resurgence. I hope that continues. And we've last year we saw Pro Street really come to life. There was a class that had died, right?
By all accounts, Outlaw 10.5 was over.
It was over, and nobody wants to give credit where credit's due. But the fact is, we picked that up. We decide we don't want to be a radial series because the mix of the prep, and that's not knocking those cars one bit. But when you try to mix the prep, it really gets hard. And we're like, hey, we want slick tire cars, and that's what we did. So we picked up those pieces, and we said, let's try to revive this class. And then we did the same thing with the 28-10.5 on the Super Street class, and now all of a sudden slicks are alive everywhere. So it's like, this is, and which is great. I'm not mad about that at all, So just support the ones that are out here, trying to push this thing down the road. And I think that, there's plenty of places to race and everybody's great. And I get it. It's like, oh, I'm going to go to this. They're paying this or that. And sometimes it's crazy. It's like, guys, you do realize there's only one guy that wins, you know what I mean? So,
right.
It's amazing, but I get it. A racer, I say this all the time. A racer goes to the racetrack, one, to have fun. Two, he's a competitor. He wants to be up front, and he's going to do that where he can succeed at. So there's times that we don't get some of the racers that I think it's because our competition level is too high. You know what I mean? It's like,
dude, I know that exists across the board, not only in your pro classes, but in your sportsman classes.
Correct.
Like, I mean, I've know plenty a top sportsman racer from the Midwest is like, man, I'd love to go to one of them PDRA races, but I don't want to take a clubbing like I'm going to take when I go out there. And that is a double-edged sword. I mean, but it also speaks to your earlier point that, like, it's a real accomplishment in the sport of drag racing, and something that you should be very proud of, Tommy, is that winning a PDRA race means something. If you've won in PDRA, you've won in as tough of a deal as there exists in drag racing today. And I think it's something to be really proud of, man. You're going to have to go through hell to get into the winner's circle at one of those races. And it's something to be proud of. Tommy, we got to cut you loose, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We'll talk to you soon, and congrats on a hell of a weekend. Say hi to the family, and be safe out there.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy.
Yep, thanks, Tommy.
Hey guys, I want to take a quick second and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Redline Synthetic Oil. You can see them in the comments right now. Team Redline, they're here with us, formulated to win, proven by you since 1979. Redline has been protecting engines from 11,000 horsepower nitro motors to 50cc motorcycles. Ty Tedero, Steve Torrance, Callie Mills, Spencer Hyde, Scott Palmer, Tommy Franklin, champions and contenders who trust Redline Oil to get it done. Check out their full product lineup at redlineoil.com. When you know, you know. Mike, our next guest in the green room already. Let's get right after it. I think he's got like some sort of digital picture background. We got some wild shit going on here. This is going to be exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the one and only NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle phenom, Richard Gadson. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man?
Pretty good, man. Thank you guys for having me. I always wanted to be on your show, Wes. So, thank you. And yeah, I got a digital background because my background is not very appealing. It's like our warehouse.
You might be the first. Yeah,
you may be the first one. I'm here for
the digital background feature.
It's always good to be a first or something.
Yeah.
No, man. No. Well, hey, we're excited to have you, man. I think that there's a couple of things. Obviously, just your success and this explosion that you've kind of represented in the NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle world, but you've also just been very vocal. Right? Like just on the heels of this championship and everything, I feel like you're an outspoken, like willing to talk, willing to discuss type of person, whether it's dealing with the internet stuff and dealing with all the different drama. I appreciate your candor. Does that make sense? Like, I think that that's something that we're seeing more of in the sport of drag racing, but not nearly enough. And you're definitely bringing a lot of candor, authenticity, and transparency to the sport of drag racing. Is that something that just you made a conscious decision one day, like, hey, I'm going to let the world know, I'm going to share with our fans like what I'm going through and how this whole thing works and feels to me?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I just look at it from a standpoint of you can be, I think that the misconception is being professional means not saying anything or not talking or not addressing something. I feel like I don't believe that. I believe you can be professional and talk and engage. And I think that, right now, it's 2026, social media runs the world, and the fans in the stands, people watch reality TV, they want to, I think they want to get inside the helmet a little bit more. I think they want to engage with the person, with the people, not necessarily the bike or the car just by itself. They want to actually get to know the person. Maybe they'll fall in love with personalities, but I'm not actually trying to be anybody. I'm just trying to be myself. I'm not going to burden myself with trying to be anything other than who I am. I'm a respectful dude, but I'm a grudge racer at the same time. And you got to go to those races with thick skin. You learn to speak up for yourself and talk a little bit. And, I just kind of try to be myself in a respectful manner. So, I think that that's something that, NHRA in whole, you're starting to see it a little bit more with a bunch of people. And being professional, if there's nothing wrong with the guy who doesn't say much of anything, but, I think that sometimes if you don't address things or you don't say anything, it just causes more damage down the back line. So if I see something I can speak up on, I'll generally take the opportunity to do so.
I mean, we like it. I mean, in many ways, it seems like we're here for it. It almost feels like Pro Stock Motorcycle has been, in ways, like maybe ahead of their time when it comes to that type of thing. Like, there's a lot of back and forth. Steve Johnson's got something to say. The Hines got something to say. Matt Smith, of course, has something to say. Angie's got something to say. Like, there's a lot of personalities in that space that aren't at all afraid to, speak their truth. And it feels like, I mean, that's something that is just now happening in some of the other classes, right? But we've seen it for a hot minute in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Where does that come from? Because there is like an intensity amongst that group that is pretty rare
among your own team, right? With Gage,
right.
And I mean, there's never, the gloves are always off. It seems like in this class.
Yeah, always. And I think that Matt kind of would be if there's a pioneer, for lack of a better term, it would be Matt. He's always been, and Angie, they've always been outspoken.
Matt gets it honestly. That's second generation.
Honestly, yeah, that's exactly right. So, I mean, this kill or be killed. Like, as outspoken as Matt is, you're either going to combat with him or he's going to railroad you on the media side. So I think that, he kind of started it. And then you got Steve, who is really a spokesperson for the class in general. It ends up being a little bit of fun banter back and forth between them. Or I don't know if it's fun for them. It's fun for us to watch it, but I don't know how they feel about it. But, and then you got some others, but, just trying to, honestly, man, like I said, I think it's just going with the times. I think at one point it would have been looked at as a bad thing, as bad publicity or bad whatever. I don't think that that's the case anymore. I think, as long as you keep it clean, I think that there's a balance you can walk there and have a little bit of fun with it as well. And it really just makes the racing good too. When you get to the racetrack, you're so like, oh, if I catch Matt or if I catch this person or that person, it makes the racing a lot more intense as well. And like you said, it is in our own trailer as well. Not in a bad manner, but we're at each other's necks at every race, and and make no mistake, when it's not us against each other, we got each other's backs 1,000% against everybody else. But yeah, man, it's intense in our class, that's for sure.
You can't turn that grudge racer off.
Well, no. I was going to say too, one thing about this whole deal that I think Pro Stock Motorcycle makes it more apparent than any of the other classes, because you're literally fully exposed. It's you out there sitting on the bike, and you can see every mannerism, everything going on. I love watching Pro Stock Motorcycle and watching like Matt look over and flick the free stage bulb and back out of it, or you can see all this stuff going on that you don't get to see when somebody's inside a funny car or inside a Pro Stock car or whatever. So I think that really lends itself to building these rivalries inside that class.
Yeah, you can almost see our emotions or what we're thinking. Like if one of us are up for games, you'll see that up there. And Matt's always up for games. He's like a gamesman. you got to be able to withstand whatever he's going to throw at you at the start line. And I'll play a little bit, but, you know, Gage and him really go at it pretty good. And but yeah, you know, our class, like you said, you can't see our face per se, but you can see everything else. And it kind of tells us, if you're a racer, you know what you're looking at. Matt flickers the bulbs all the time. And I'm too scared to do it. I'm like, man, the time I back up, he's going to go in right before I backed up, and I'm going to get the red. And I'm just, that's not really my game. But, you know, you'll hear us up there whacking the throttle at each other and stuff like that. It doesn't do much, you know, you know who you're doing it with, and you know that it's more so for entertainment, but you know that it's going to be game on when that tree drops anyways. But yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. Our class is pretty intense. I say we make up for what we lack in, I call it thunder from a nitro class. You know, when they leave the starting line, it shakes the bleachers, it shakes your soul. We don't have that, but we make up for it in competitiveness, personality, and some of the stuff that you're talking about right now.
I would agree wholeheartedly, man. Like, just seeing all those mannerisms on the starting line. I mean, it can be a simple hand gesture. It can be the way a head, you know, cocks over, or a little bit of a eye roll. You can see that through the helmet, you know, and it's a fantastic thing. What do you make of, you know, just the competitive landscape right now? I mean, it just feels like, obviously, yourself, Gage, in many ways, world beaters the last few years, but you're not just completely running away with it. I mean, it feels like there's a lot of really good competition, specifically at the top of the class, some emerging talents, some emerging riders that I think have some real star power. I mean, what's your overall, like, state of the union right now when it comes to pro stock motorcycle in the NHRA?
Yeah, I think that it's you know, we got, I'll start off with this gentleman, a gentleman named Clayton Howie, who is riding Kelly Clonsted, KCR team's rental bike. And Clayton is nothing short on the riding department. He rides with the best of us, and that's just right away, you know. So I think what's happening in our class is you're seeing people. I used to feel like NHRA was a pro stock motorcycle was like this, right? The riders would only get shuffled around from team to team. They didn't really look outside the box much. If you were outside of that circle, you pretty much had to buy your way in. You were renting a motorcycle, or you had your own race team. But nowadays, you're seeing people look outside and they're finding talent. They found Gage Herrera, you know, found Joey Gladstone, and you found, you know, there's a few other. I've come into class, and because of the talent that's coming in the motorcycle, we have more talent than we have bikes that can match their talent. So it's pretty crazy, man. I feel like right now it's so competitive that first round is, you know, you have your heavy hitters, and then you have your guys that qualified towards the bottom. But second round, you're going to have somebody that at any moment can put a number up or put you out or tree you or whatever the case may be. By the time and in that second round, you have a couple matchups that are like, this could be a final round matchup. But when you get to the semifinals, it's 2 final round matchups, period. Like, the pressure starts for winning the race, like, early in the day. And I feel like, you know, when we get to the finals, if you won a race, it's so competitive right now, our class. If you win a race and you win 4 rounds, you're exhausted mentally, mostly mentally, more than anything, because of how taxing the day was. You know, like, you run in the mat semifinals, and then you got Gage in the finals with, like, that's 2 rounds of, like, some serious stuff right there. Or Angie as well, Chase Van Sant, who's a 007 on the light. So, you know, our class is pretty crazy, man. And I think that kind of what me and Gage have really keep us sharp, because we're trying to make sure that each other are at the tip top of our game just internally. So everybody else is just, you guys are going to get whatever you know what I mean? And, you know, the MSR team, I think right now, we're not, like you said, it's not a runaway. I really think right now, I feel like he has the package. He has the packages. He's got a lot of power. They're 630 pounds now. They haven't been this light in I don't know how long, and he was already fast. We're 660 pounds, and he's been posting. He's got his 60 foots going in the right direction, and I think it's going to be a long year for us, but a fun year. You know, this is what we want. We want competition. You know, we want this deal to be a deal where if somebody dominates, it's because you worked. You didn't have a performance advantage, despite what people might think. People think that Vance and Hines, that we just want to we want to have 3, 4, 500s on everybody. We want to have the rules in our favor, and we want to run away with this deal. That is not the sentiments of any. I think everybody knows I would be honest about that. I'm in the trailer with these boys every day. We wanted to be a tough class. We wanted to be tough sledding, and we want good competition. That's the only way the class will survive. So this should be a fun year. It's going to be a long year. It's going to be a roller coaster year. I know I'm leading the points right now. Got a number 1 on my bike, but I know that there's an assault, all-out assault coming from Matt, Gage, Angie, Chase, Clayton, John Hall. Like, yeah, I know that there's a Steve Johnson. I know that there's a bunch of guys behind me that are. It won't always be like this. So I'm gonna enjoy the high days and try to withstand the low ones and just fire back the best I can and hang on for dear life.
I'm curious, like, for somebody who's been around this sport their entire life, I don't know that everybody that watches this knows that, like, the Gadson family is 3 generations of drag racers, right? I mean, this is something that you guys, it's been your life for probably as long as you've been alive. Yeah. I'm just curious, like, just thinking about what you just said through the lens of racing with your dad and racing with your grandpa, I believe, you know what I mean? Like, to be here now, riding for Vance and Hines, you know, being a grudge bike guy, a 460 bike guy, a street tire bike guy. I think you made like the quickest pass ever made on a nitrous motorcycle. Like, is this surreal? Like, because I got to tell you, man, like, this good looking, well-spoken young man that is getting to be a professional motorcycle racer, like, this has got to be an unbelievable experience for you. I mean, tabling the success you have had. Like, if you were just qualifying every once in a while, that would have to feel like victory for someone who's been doing this and immersed in this for as long as you have.
Yeah, for sure. Just one correction. Shout out to Gage Herrera. He broke my nitrous street tire no bar record last year. I did own it. I owned it since 2019.
That's what I thought. Okay.
640 at 223, I think. And he went 639 last year, 100th. But I still own the speed side of it. I think he went 215. So this is absolutely surreal, man. It's that's something that I remind myself when I'm having a bad day or I lost early or whatever the case may be. I always tell myself, how bad is it really, man? Like, how bad is it really? You're racing NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle. You're one of the riders for Vance and Hines Motorsports. You like, how bad is it? You're going to make this a bad thing because you're having a bad day. You're at the racetrack racing Pro Stock Motorcycle, right? It's not that bad. Those are things I tell myself when I'm starting to feel down or frustrated or I'm having a bad day. Because like you said, man, to come from where I come from, and I am a generational racer. My father raced. He passed away when I was 6 years old, and my uncle basically stepped in and kept me at the racetrack. And to come up through the ranks, I started off in a class called 600 Super Sport, which are just stock wheelbase 600s, and then worked my way all the way up. I've won in, I think, almost every class other than Top Fuel at this point. And maybe I think they got a class called Funny Bike. But the grudge racing thing, if you think about, let's think about that for a second. That's something we talk about now. That was looked at as kind of like the dark horse of racing for a long time. You didn't talk about grudge racing. But that's something that's one of the biggest forms of racing on the car and bike side of things right now. And, I come from that world. Gage comes from that world. And, to be racing an NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle on this stage is just kind of crazy. It's just, I hope that it's a trailblazer in some fashion to a lot of people. I didn't start it. I'm just one of the most recent people, but I hope it's a thing where guys can say, look, man, you can go out there, you can have fun, you can race, and you can also do this as well if that's what you want to do. I hope that's what it sends as a message.
Yeah, you definitely. I mean, you guys, you name those guys. That is something we've seen more recently. You don't have to come through that, I guess, the straight and narrow path to get to Pro Stock Motorcycle. You can come from these other areas that are on the fringes that you've seen, like you said, grow in popularity. That is something to me that's been exciting to see in Pro Stock Motorcycle, is to see it kind of embrace these people from these other walks of motorcycle racing. And you kind of touched on your upbringing and where you came from and everything. Tell us a little bit about the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, because I know that was a big influence in your upbringing and your life, and kind of help you get your start. And you're in your third year of doing that and participating in that in a big way. And this weekend's race at ZMAX is going to be another one of those events.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my mom. Like I said, my father passed when I was young, so my mom was a single parent, and she signed me up for Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, and it's just a really cool deal, man. I got a big brother named Jason, and he would come pick me up a couple times a month and just take me to do things. I'm an inner city youth. I am from Philadelphia, like the city Philadelphia, concrete jungle. So there was a lot of things that I didn't know anything about other than going around the corner to the basketball court. And he took me and showed me a lot of different things. And it was something that I kind of wanted to embrace. I was like, this is cool because, there are kids out there in some of these cities. We strategically place the cities to where they're kind of like, where they might not make it to the racetrack. Their demographic, they may not be at the racetrack. And I thought it would be really cool for kids to come out. And we've got a really good feedback to come out to the races and see something that they probably have never seen, don't know what a funny car is, don't know what a top fuel car is, don't know what a pro stock motorcycle is, and let alone don't know that they can do this if that was something they were in. Not just being a racer or a rider. I always say there's so many opportunities on the media side. Social media is big, right? There's so many opportunities on the media side, safety safari, just whatever, they might.
Event production, operations. I mean, that's probably the coolest thing that I think about our DI 30 under 30 that we do every year is it's not just racers and riders. It's like there's a lot of different ways to make a difference in this sport and to be actively involved. And I think you make a great point, man. And to use your platform and the platform that you have access to with the NHRA to bring those young folks in, I think is awesome. And I really think about this with the sport a lot. When you think about all the technology that exists in our world today, especially like with the rapid development of AI and all this crazy technology we're staring down the barrel of, I don't know that it's ever been more important in the world to show kids that it's cool to work with your hands. You know what I mean? Because like those opportunities,
and get out from behind that stuff and experience it like that. We talk about it a lot. Drag racing, you have to experience in person. And where else are they going to do? You can't do that on a phone.
Absolutely. Like a football game, an NFL football game is almost better to watch it on TV, right?
Yeah.
You could go to the game for the experience, but you can see the game better on TV. Drag racing, you can't appreciate two fuel cars hitting the throttle or two pro mods going down the racetrack. You can't appreciate that unless you're watching it from the 8th mile and you see the car still hanging the wheels or whatever. You got to be there and feel it and hear it, smell it, see it. So you're right about that. But to touch on the AI, we're living in the iRobot movie. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie.
Oh, yes.
That is what we're living in. There are robots, real robots walking around going to be taking our jobs. There's going to be a robot riding a Van Science Pro Stock bike one day soon. But
well, if we ain't careful with these fucking crew chiefs, that will be the case. They'd put a robot on one of these things or in one of these cars in a millisecond.
There you go.
We got to stop them from doing that. But you're right, man. We're living in like, I don't even know that people fully grasp how crazy things are right now. But I'm telling you, man, like, being an engine builder, being a hands-on guy, being a high-speed problem solver, which is what a drag racer is, that is a massively valuable skill set that I do not see waning in value anytime soon. Matter of fact, I think it's going to, what's the guy that does the dirtiest jobs guy, Mike Rowe? I think Mike Rowe would argue that it's probably been never more important in the world. Like if you're going to earn a living and not get replaced by a robot or software, that you're an able-bodied person that can do something with your hands, and bringing out these young folks and exposing them. And just not to mention the camaraderie that exists. I mean, I'm sure the relationship that you have with your big brother, Jason, like there's a lot of folks that don't have that. I mean, I know that this has been kind of I've had kids now for, I guess, almost 20 years. My son just turned 18. But one of the things, if there's been anything I've taken away from it, it's been how many of his peers don't have parents at home, don't have both parents at home, don't have a loving, caring home life, and I just can't imagine. Like, you're doing the Lord's work, Richard. That's an amazing thing, and we're genuinely proud of you, brother.
I don't know about that, but I appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys, and I appreciate NHRA has been huge with supporting me with this. Elin and Abby of Werner Productions have been huge with supporting me this. The racetracks themselves have been huge. Now I got a cheat sheet here because I always forget which 6. They all start to run in on my mind, but we got Charlotte, Chicago, Indy, St. Louis, Dallas, and Vegas have all contributed tickets. We give 10 tickets to pairs to come out. And, and I've even gotten support from other racers. Daniel Wilkerson reached out last year and said, hey, if you see an opportunity for me to be involved, I'm in. I want in. So now the kids don't just come to the Pro Stock Motorcycle Pit. They go to Daniel Wilkerson as well. And we fit this in between qualifying runs. Like, I come back from the run and take my suit off and there's kids walking up while I'm trying to, I crew my own bike. So I'm working on my bike, but it's cool because I get to talk to them a little bit more about it. Jasmine Salinas and Gianna Evaristo are also on board because think about that, right? They're women. Yeah, at the highest level of this sport, just showing what that means to people, to these kids. So you might inspire somebody, and it might not have nothing to do with drag racing, or it may have something to do with drag racing, but you may inspire somebody to just elevate their mind.
Mike, JT, and I will be in Indy for the U.S. Nationals, and we'd volunteer to do something because I know I meet a lot of young people. Yeah, I mean, because there's a lot of opportunities in the media space right now. Like, if you're a storyteller, or if you can weave together a few words or whatever, there's opportunity for you right now, especially if you're willing to put yourself out there. And I think that it's becoming more and more fashionable to be like a talking head or an analyst or, whatever, a commentator. I don't think there's any shame in that game. So we would love to support you any way that we can, Richard, because I think
we should get something together for Indy. And then
take some of the kids up to the media center, go run them around, introduce them.
Cool because I've been trying to figure out something more. I can't do but so much as while I'm racing, right? But I've been trying to figure out something more at the racetrack that because they go to the bleachers, they watch, they come, they meet us, they see the cars and bikes, but just kind of something a little bit more like this is for them, kind of a deal. So I'll definitely be in touch with you guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you got my number. Text me, go race this weekend, obviously, but let's talk about it next week because we'll help. And we got some connections that we can make some shit happen. Because that would be fantastic for them. And like I said, I feel like anytime that we can use the platform that drag racing has provided us to do some good in the world, by God, we're going to do it.
There's so much more to drag racing too that's not on the track. I love exposing people to that
driver, but that's what we got to do. That's our future. We got to get these kids off of their video games, from in front of their TV. When you think about it, when we were younger, we were outside doing stuff. It's a digital era now, so we got to get these kids outside and seeing things like what you do with your hand. We got to make sure that they know you can't chat GPT how to get a motorcycle down a racetrack or whatever the case may be. Just getting them to use their skill sets, use their mind. That's what the whole thing is about. So I appreciate you guys extending that offer.
Well, think about this real quick, and this just popped in my head. Is there a single driver in the NHRA that's getting paid as much as any crew chief in the nitro pits? I would argue not.
I would think not as well.
You know what I'm saying? So that
almost makes sense to go that way.
I mean, in a way, it almost makes sense to go that way. Every winter, my phone melts down with so-and-so's going to this team and so-and-so's going to that team. And they offered him, $500,000 and they offered him $350,000. And I'm going, what?
Yeah.
You mean, you know what I mean? But it's true. And I think that, that's a great lesson for people is that, hey man, being one of the things that we have a real shortage of in this space is tuners. Yeah. The sharp minds that are required, and this is something that, I do this and I apologize. I steer everything back to Pro Mod. I apologize. Somebody needs to get a shock collar for me.
Class in drag racing. Let's do it.
And I don't mean to, because I love it all. And I mean, I've never raced Pro Mod, so I'm not even attached to it like that. I'm just a huge fan of it. But one of the things that we're really lucky with in our sport, and I had this conversation with Scott Tidwell, one of our team owners in Pro Mod. He goes, you know how screwed up this deal would be if even one of us that own a car and hire a tuner had that tuner sign an exclusivity deal? There'd be half as many cars because that's a real thing. Almost every one of these team owners are probably paying a tuner, right? They're paying this tuner to fly in and work on their stuff. And they are being, they're thinking deeply, or they're thinking about the greater good, because they're saying, hey, I want you to tune my car, but I'm okay with you going and tuning these 6 other cars that I'm going to have to race against. Yeah. That's not going to happen in the NHRA Nitro pits. You ain't going to have Mike Green walk out of Tony Stewart's trailer and go down and help Justin Ashley. You know what I'm saying? That ain't, it's sure as hell not happening in the Pro Stock Motorcycle pits.
Not at all.
Right? But it happens every weekend in Pro Mod. And to me, and that speaks to how big of a problem it is. So if there's some young guy out there that's looking, because I talk to a lot of racers, young aspiring guys that are like trying, hey, I want to become a professional racer. Well, hey man, probably the quickest way to make yourself valuable in the sport of drag racing is be able to make one of these things fast.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean? And it's becoming a problem in Pro Stock Motorcycle a little bit because, you got Vance and Hines, who right now with Kelly, Clayton, me, Gage, Gino, we field 5 bikes, and Matt fields 4 or 5 motorcycles. That's 10 bikes, 9 or 10 bikes.
Two
and
teams.
Then you have the War Team, which is just Chase this year. I think they got a couple entries for a few races, but there's other guys underneath there who are looking to want to race, and they don't have a program. They don't have a tuner. What we do, our class is there's not many hand clutch classes anymore. Everything's going to slider clutches. There's not our bikes are unlike anything else in drag racing. No bar racing is really big in motorcycle drag racing now. It's not even a lot of wheelie bar classes that aren't index or bracket classes. So how to make a motorcycle go down the racetrack as quickly as possible with a hand clutch, normally aspirated. Everything else is also power adders. Normally aspirated is like a dying breed. So there's guys in the class right now, to add to your point of, if you really want to get good at something, get good at tuning, because there's guys right now who would hire you, whether they know you're good or not, they'll give you a shot. I kind of got that with Chris Bostic. It's kind of how I got in the NHRA pits. He didn't really have a tuner. He's in the same boat right this minute, I believe. I don't know, but he hired me to come help him figure out his Pro Stock bike. It was just kind of like pit help and clutch and everything like that, and it kind of went from there. But that's a good point to you want to if there's something you want to get into and you can't ride, you can't drive, you may be too big to ride a bike, but you know a little bit about a standalone ECU and fuel injection and how to get a bike down the racetrack, man, try your luck. You might get a gig.
Well, and you may be able to work your way into that seat, and that's one of the things we've seen it. Robert Height was a crew guy. Austin Prock, learned how to work on the car. Like, there's been several stories of guys that have said, hey, I'm going to get in however I can get in. I'm going to do whatever I've got to do and find my way, and some of them, not all of them.
But that's almost everybody at the drag show. I feel like we talked about this a lot. We actually had this conversation with Jordan Vandergriff, is that, he stayed out there. They went to work for NHRA or Fox, doing some of that stuff, finds himself back in a seat. Just being out there. I've always said there's a tremendous value to just being in the pits and being out there, being visible, being a part of something, even if it's not what you want to be doing in that moment, be the bottom end guy on the team or whatever. You never know where it's going to go.
That's why I'm on this motorcycle, I believe. Yeah. Just being out there, I wanted to ride, but I wasn't riding. I had a motorcycle that a buddy of mine, James Johnson, he said, just come get it and go live your dream. And it was a carbureted old 2-valve. It was stuff that would have never qualified. And we got a bunch of help from a bunch of people, George Baber, BPM Race Engines, and we put it together, a bike that I took to Dallas and qualified 9th with. I think I was 9th. And then, like I said, I was with Chris Bostic. So I think those are the ways that I kind of worked my way up. It wasn't like they called me and I was walking past the Vance Hines trailer after just tuning Chris's bike, and that was kind of how it happened. Real quick, I want to interject. I saw Michael Phillips comment a second ago. Mike, we love you, dog. Thank you for what you said. But Mike is a pioneer trailblazer in this class and one of my idols too. So I just wanted to make sure I acknowledge Mike. But
we got plenty of people. JT is dying to help with Big Brothers Big Sisters, but we also got Jimmy Taylor in the house that's interested in being involved. A Pro Mod icon, quickly become a Pro Mod name. It's unbelievable. But yeah, he's in. You're doing a good thing, and I know we've got to cut you loose, but I do want to just touch on one more thing before we let you go. 460 bike. You were, I believe, a multi-time champion in 460 bike, or maybe just 1 year in XDA.
I won 1 year in XDA, yeah.
That is a class that you talk about it being, index racing or whatever, and there's a good sized tire and a bar, but there's some great guys in that 460 bike space. And I think it seems really strong.
Addition to our
addition to the Winter Series this year.
That is one of the biggest, if not the biggest class in motorcycle drag racing right now. It's affordable. They don't have to blow up engines. These guys can go racing week after week after week and afford to do so because you get you got a motorcycle that used to be a pro mod, right? You put small jets in it. And now you don't have your excitement in the thing hanging the wheel to the 8th mile. You have your excitement in the fact that number 20 qualifier went 461 and number one 460 with a 0. You got 20 something people crammed in 100th of a second. And if you're at the top of the class and some guy qualified at the bottom, he still went 459. So you got like, he's right on the number. He's just, on the wrong side of it, but he can still beat you. It's like, it's crazy. And I used to say it was the most stressed that I ever been when I used to race 460, just a good stress is competitiveness, but you'd be sitting in the staging lanes thinking about your tune-up until no end because you're trying to split the hairs of a few thousandths to race this. It's equivalent to some of like the dragster classes and bracket racing, but they are really tough racers, really good guys. I think that and grudge racing are what you see making the riders that you see because we're battle tested before we even come to Pro Stock Bike. We already know what it's like to be. You got to be 30 or better, or else you leave in second. And we already know what it's like to be sitting at the start line with 100 people behind you under a bunch of pressure. You need to win this, or you don't need to go back to the trailer. So I think that these classes are grooming you from a pressure standpoint. For Pro Stock Bike, there's still a lot of nuances in Pro Stock Bike that you can't prepare for. You just got to get out there and ride one. But at least from a pressure standpoint, there's other classes, and 460 is one of those breeding grounds right now.
Well, we're gonna let you go. Our next guest is in the green room. But what was the craziest grudge race you've ever been involved in?
Man, I got so many. It's crazy. One of the craziest ones was on a dirt bike at Darlington Dragway. Because that's a big thing as well. These guys they got methanol breathing 450s that are slammed to the ground and they're really fast. That was for a big pot. I've done some others with Jeremy Teasley. A lot of them have happened at Darlington, Rockingham, which I'm really excited to be going to Rockingham because that's a place that I've only ever really grudge raced at. So I'm going there now racing NHRA.
Dude, the NHRA at Rockingham is going to be
crazy.
Lit.
It's crazy. The Rock is back. Is back. So I've had some with Chris Moore out of South Carolina. Man, I've got so many. I don't even know which one I would say is the craziest one because they all seem to be really crazy. It would seem like I only had one or two really big ones a year, but whenever they would come up, they were really big. So
did you get a video of this dirt bike one? Send it to me because I want to see this. Okay, send it to me, Richard. Yeah. Well, dude, we wish you nothing but the best this weekend. Can't wait. I look forward to seeing you at the Rock. I believe that's on Mike and I's calendar for this year. Mike will be out there this weekend. We'll be by to see you. So if you need anything, let us know, brother, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Gadson.
Yep. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, brother. Oh my goodness, man. He's fun to talk to. Right?
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He's a good dude. Real quick, folks, I do want to remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by Shootout Safety. 100% made in America, 100% built for racers. From drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits and ballistic blankets, Shootout Safety has been the standard in racing safety equipment for decades. Tommy Cunningham and his team don't cut corners. They build gear that saves lives. If you're serious about safety, there's one call to make. Check them out at StroudSafety.com and tell them Wes sent you. Guys, we are approaching the finish line, and maybe we saved the best for last. I've been looking forward to having this conversation for a while. Fresh off another Titanic. That's my second time using the word, the description term, Titanic. Apologies. I do that every week. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for streetcar bragging rights own Nate Prader. What's up, Nate?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, man, are you catching your breath, big dog? Looked like a whale of a weekend out at Rockingham Dragway.
Still need a few naps to recover.
Isn't it crazy how much putting on these events takes out of a person? I don't think that it often gets talked about enough. Like, I think that the masses think it's counting money, you know what I mean, and taking tickets or whatever, but it is there's a lot that goes into it, man. We certainly appreciate the hustle and the grind and the big vision that you have for this. So congrats, man. Tell us about the weekend.
It was hot. We had a lot of conversations about this with a lot of racers while we were there, but I don't know what it is. We're just plagued with hot weather for this event. We saw, 150-degree track temps majority of Saturday, but overall, I mean, it was smooth running. We kept on a good schedule thanks to Gavin. Brought him in this year for the first time. He was a huge asset to the success of it this year. But no, overall, it was great. Got a lot of good feedback this year. We got some things that we still got to work on, but we're going to continue to improve.
No, man. I mean, and it's like, this is that's another thing, that a battle that promoters fight is just preparing yourself for like what's going, hoping that the weather is going to cooperate. And there's nothing you can do when it gets hot like that. I mean, you're just along for the ride, making the best of it.
Yeah, it was definitely a little warmer than expected. We actually brought the race back 30 days from last year, from May to April, to kind of offset some of that warmer weather. And we still somehow found the hottest week of the year.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, that was literally like at World Series. It was the Saturday at the World Series, or Friday at the World Series was like the hottest day that they had in Bradenton, Florida of the year. And it's like, how did this happen? How could it possibly be hot this one day? But no, I feel you, man. But it looked absolutely spectacular. I mean, from the winner's circle to the Ferris wheel to just all the production, the pyro, the flyover, the skydivers. What kind of feedback do you get on all of those things? Because I would argue that it's all those details that make all the difference, but it's very easy to shit can them all, right? Like they all serve as a line item. They are all an expense. Every single one of them cuts into the profit of the event. But to me, make all the difference in how an event is perceived by the masses. Do you feel much the same? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's something, if I had all the limited funds in the world, y'all would hate to see what we'd really pull off. But, at the end of the day, I've talked about it multiple times. I believe I talked about it with you last time I was on the show. We're trying to get people also that are not in the drag racing community out to the racetrack. And sometimes you got to do things a little bit differently to do that.
Oh, no doubt. And I think you got to have some of those kind of sideline attractions, something else. But streetcar racing doesn't seem like it's ever been bigger than it is right now. I mean, it's from your events to the various, TX2K was just a month or so ago. We've got Streetcar Takeover crisscrossing the country. I mean, is it just me, or is it mind-blowing how many like really fast late model performance cars exist around this country of ours?
Oh,
like,
it's insane.
Everybody's got a twin turbo or something, Viper, Corvette, Mustang. It's unbelievable.
No, a lot of people don't understand. I mean, especially, at the level that, we all know Brett all too well. These cars are capable of going and doing 6-week drag and drive events and stuff. And you got Ned Dunphy and the Viper doing drag week and stuff. These cars are capable of laying down 5s in the quarter mile at a drag strip and then going to the grocery store. Is absolutely insane.
It really is. What's your take on the stick shift world right now? Obviously, it seems like there's a lot of hubbub in that whole space, the H pattern kind of shootouts that are taking place. I know it was a big deal for you to make sure that those guys continued to have, a seat at the table at Streetcar Bragging Rights. We've seen those cars, World Cup, multiple other events, but we're seeing new cars being built for that, which I did not anticipate, to be honest, like new people coming into that space. I mean, what's your overall state of the union when it comes to this H pattern deal? Liberty just brought out this new transmission that seems to have people up in arms. Tell me about your thoughts on it.
I think, there's a lot of back and forth with, Gangsters 530 being the most popular class in drag racing right now. But, stick shift is creeping up right behind it. There's a lot of guys doing a lot of cool stuff right now. There's a lot of controversy back and forth with a lot of the guys that, have kind of reigned at the top of stick shift for a while, and the class is getting faster and guys are figuring out ways to go faster. And some guys don't like that. With us at our event, I can't speak the same for everybody, but, our goal with all of our classes, including stick shift, is to have the fastest badass guys on the planet there. And, it's a limited rule set, I think takes precedent to stay continued as an outlaw class. I mean, that is what it is. It is an outlaw class. There's a lot of guys that are trying to say this needs to happen, this needs to be put in place, this needs to be put in place. But, for us, for an outlaw class, it's outlaw. It's run what you brung. It's show up with what you can. And, Sean Madden came and, won Texas 2K last month, came and put in the winner's circle again with us. And, it's one of those things. I think the stick shift class is going to continue to be a lot of heavy hitters. I think more cars are going to start coming out that are going to give Sean a good run. I really think we're going to see the H pattern world record drop really soon.
I would be shocked if we do not, but it is like we spent the first part of the show talking to PDRA's Tommy Franklin just about trying to preserve these things. Do you have any like reservations about going, okay, do we let this thing get too far gone and then we're not able to pull it back? I mean, I know a lot of people like to point at Radio versus the World as like the example of this, but I don't really know that that's fair, to be honest with you. I've always seen RVW as something of a freak show, and we went into it knowing it was a freak show. It was kind of a one-off deal, but we also did see that as the performance continued to improve and the cars got quicker and quicker and quicker and faster and faster and faster, participation did wane at some point. You know, finding that sweet spot is such a challenge, man. Do you feel like that's kind of where you're at, though? Like, do you think we're at the sweet spot? I think Victor Alvarez put something on Facebook the other day just talking about, like, do we want to see somebody with a Proline Hemi in a car with a stick shift behind it? Like, is that where we want this to go? Because
I think only time
like
will tell. I think at the end of the day, racers vote by showing up to races, buying tech cards, and, you know, we're selling out continuously our stick shift fields. You know, this last race last week, you know, we sold out 70 spots in a stick shift field, and those guys know what they're coming up and competing against. They know that, you know, your 6-second quarter mile H pattern cars are going to be there. You know, if we get to a point where a couple of guys are doing this and you don't have a couple guys behind them that are ready to step forward and try to plug those holes, then that's whenever we're going to start seeing, you know, maybe the class is going to die off some. I don't think that's the case right now. I think there's at least 8 guys in the stick shift outlaw world right now that want to be on top, and they're going to do what they can to be on top.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly how it seems, man. 70 cars is almost, I mean, that's incredible to get that kind of participation, especially knowing that you're going to have to go up against, you know, real 6-second contenders. I think that's definitely saying something, man, about where the class is at and where it's headed next. I kind of love it because I love just the way the cars behave. Guys are in them having to drive, one hand on the wheel. It's rowdy and sketchy. To me, I wonder if there's not – I mean, I definitely think there's something there. I mean, I really think that class, who knows what that thing could turn into in the coming years. Did I lose you? I thought I lost you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, Nate, you're still here? Okay, take us through. You guys had Little Gangsters, a slew of Extreme 28s. I was looking at the class list. Stick Shift, obviously, Stick Shift Pro. The Outlaw Stick Shift class, Daily Driver class. I mean, just talk to us about car count and participation, man. I mean, it looked like the event was massively well attended. You're talking about sellout. You know, what do you think contributes to that?
I think we, you know, I don't care to gloat in any way, but I think we have a racers first mentality amongst myself and across all of our staff. And that, you know, is one of those things that we started that at the beginning of Streetcar Bragging Rights. We are racers that are honestly kind of tired of the way we felt like we were treated at a lot of races. So it was a put up or shut up kind of deal. And, you know, we decided to have a race event and go from there. And, you know, it's grown to what it is now, but, you know, it's been built off the back of our retention rate with racers and sponsors. And, you know, we're not there at a World Cup, Texas 2K, FL 2K level when it comes to spectators at this point. And we're okay with that. You know, our mindset has been to build a really good group of racers that want to come back and race with us every year. And very fortunately, over the last 3 or 4 years, it's shown that our retention rate with sponsors and racers has been through the roof. You know, and we really think if we get you out there, we get you to the event, you know, you're going to want to come back.
No, I surely think so. And do you think that that's kind of part of, don't you feel like that's a smart approach to this? I mean, what's your sense on that? Like, because I feel like sometimes the events get over promoted, right? And maybe they draw some of those ticket sales that you're talking about or some of that spectator count that you're talking about, but the show doesn't really live up to the billing. And then you've got a totally different problem.
Yeah, no, racers are the show. I mean, it's why people come to the gates. I've gone to a handful of events where, you know, there's 10, 15,000 people in the gates and there's 20 or 30 cars on property. And, you know, that works for them. That works for them. It's just it's not the route that we're trying to go. You know, we're trying to build our racer base, which, like I said, we've been very fortunate to do, and we have. And, you know, spectators will come.
Oh, there's no doubt, man. I mean, I think that it's one of those things that you've got to give it some certain amount of time. Tell me about your experience at Rockingham Dragway, right? Like when I first met you, this event was being held in South Carolina. You move the event to Rockingham Dragway. I don't think it's any secret that these guys are making massive investments, rapid improvements to the facility, sparing no expense to kind of bring Rockingham back to how many of us know it as this iconic venue in the sport of drag racing. And it just, I mean, if it's not streetcar bragging rights, it's Swan Festive or something else, or the NHRA is rolling into town this year. Like, what can you say about what's happening at Rockingham Dragway?
I honestly can't say enough. Rockingham, Dan and Al, you know, when I first sat down with Dan last year, it was very easy to see that was where Streetcar Bragging Rights' new home was going to be. Dan and Al have welcomed us, you know, with open arms. You know, we are a little unorthodox on how we go about things, and I think that's kind of easy to see. And, you know, some tracks may not appreciate that. Dan and Al have been, hey, man, bring it. You know, whenever we're talking about bringing in Ferris wheels and stuff like that, some tracks will be like, what? You know what? But, you know, they're open arms for us. They do an amazing job operating that facility. And, you know, as anybody that has spent any time at Rockingham in the last 10 years and goes there anytime now, you can definitely see massive improvements. I mean, it's not throwing paint on the tower or anything, you know, it's everywhere. The infrastructure from top to bottom is, you know, it wouldn't surprise me in the next couple of years, the place is going to look like a brand new facility.
I mean, it's surely headed that direction, eh? I mean, my God, it doesn't seem like they're pulling out any stop for, you know, turning this place into, you know, the world-class venue that I think belongs out there in the heart of drag racing country. I mean, you guys are, I mean, there's racetracks all over creation, but the racer base that exists in that part of the world, I would argue may be unique to the Southeast, you know, just that kind of participation and that kind of, you know, racer base that'll keep the place busy, you know, week in and week out throughout the warm weather season. So tell me about the Ferris wheel deal. We were talking about that at the beginning of the show. We're super jealous. That's something that has been on our list since 2019. I know JT's super bummed out that he didn't have to figure it out or deal with people and haul it there or whatever I would have asked him to do. But I love that you bring some of that PT Barnum to what you're doing, man. And what did you just decide, by God, we're going to get a Ferris wheel and start ringing phones?
So and honestly, this was a day one thing. 2022, our first race was 5 race classes. It was a single day event, and I had brought it up that I wanted a Ferris wheel at Carolina. And I don't know if anybody's ever priced a Ferris wheel, but it's not cheap. So that dream of year one of having a Ferris wheel at a race event was quickly, you know, thrown away. And the last couple years, it's something that I still continue to kind of call around and see if we could make happen. And it's been out of budget. This last year, though, I got really serious about it. And not only did I get serious about it, I wanted it to be a surprise. I didn't want anybody to know. So we kind of kept it hush hush. We didn't tell anybody. We dropped some like subliminal hints. Our event map that was on the website, actually, if you still go to it, it has a little Ferris wheel exactly where it is. But, you know, we also got it thrown up in the middle of the night. They arrived at literally midnight, and from midnight till about 4 a.m. So a lot of racers that were on property kind of went to sleep without one, and then woke up with this big ass Ferris. That's awesome.
No, I love it, man. And we're seeing in the comments right here, like Heath 2SR handing out water in the staging lanes won my heart. Where does that appreciation, like that racer first mindset? I mean, is it just your background in racing and having been that guy that's kind of treated throwaway or treated like, you know, indifferently, that you decided, like, by God, when we do this, when we throw our hat into the ring, people are going to know we care?
No, for sure. I've got a little bit of a background in the culinary world and hospitality as well. So it's one of those things that, you know, we've talked about this before. You know, we don't invent all of these things that, you know, we think that we're just coming out with, but we pick and choose. We see things that other, you know, promoters are doing, other events are doing, and it's not just drag racing, it's all sporting events. You know, one thing, not too long ago, we were at a Braves game, and it was a daytime game that ended up being like 100 degrees. And their staff was literally bringing us water to the seats. And I was like, this is a really nice touch. It's stuff like that. You just see it and you go, okay, you know, it's things that we can carry over. And at the end of the day, I mean, you know, I love that people think that we're going out of our way and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, water's cheap, you know, and that's something that really anybody can do. You don't have to be around passing it out. You can put a cooler in the staging lanes and put a sign on it that says free waters. If you're having a race event and you can't, you know, afford a pallet of water that costs $200, then maybe you shouldn't be having a race event.
It's true, man. But it's those little things like that, Nate, that I believe add up to a really big difference and a really big impact. And as I've said many times on this show, that people don't remember what happened. They remember how they felt, you know? And I think it's moments like that people, you know, it impacts them in a way that they're going to carry forward with them. They're going to tell somebody about, and that's a victory in and of itself. Let's look forward momentarily. I saw on your Facebook this morning, Speed Fest coming up. I mean, what is kind of the grand plan for Nate Prader and your events? And like, what do you think the future looks like? I mean, we've experienced this ourselves a little bit, going from the 1 race to 3 races or whatever. And, you know, I can make cases in a much of different ways, but I'm just curious, like, your thought process on where you guys fit in the space, what your future plans are. Is it continuing to focus your energy on bragging rights being the driving force behind this deal, or what's your take on what comes next for yourself?
We get asked a lot. I think one thing that, you know, a lot of racers are like, hey, you know, let's have a streetcar bragging rights in the fall. And as cool as all that sounds, I really want streetcar bragging rights to be a once a year event. You know, it needs to be, I want it to be and equate to what World Cup, FL2K, Texas 2K, World Series. These things have a draw because there is one. You know, obviously you can build off of that and have other events leading up to it or after it. I do think that in the future we are going to have other things. They will not be streetcar bragging rights. They'll have other names. I've thoroughly enjoyed, you know, stepping into the race promotional world. It's given me a lot of purpose. So I don't think it's something that we're just going to completely focus on streetcar bragging rights. But currently, you know, as far as Speed Fest goes, Tom Bailey reached out to me a few months ago and kind of planted the idea of having just a festival of the biggest streetcar names in drag racing. And, you know, he was very clear on his idea of bringing us, Streetcar Takeover, and Sick into just having something that's not really been done before. And I was all on board, and we're all in. And, you know, May 28th through 30th, we'll be at Beach Bend in Kentucky, and for the first inaugural Speed Fest. And it's something that I think is going to grow into the future.
There's no doubt, man. I mean, and there, like, to me, Mike and I have talked about this a lot recently, but I feel like we're kind of in the age of the independent drag racing event. That's just, you know, there's always likely going to be a place for the NHRAs, the PDRAs, the IHRAs, Midwest, all these traveling series. But I do think that these tentpole events are more than likely going to be these one-offs that happen once a year that people circle on their calendar and will miss anything to be at. And no, I think you guys are trending in the right direction, Big Dog. I mean, you got to feel positive about where things are at.
No, for sure. It's you know, it's easy to kind of look down the road at what you want and, you know, kind of step back and look and go, okay, we're not there yet. But, you know, the growth over 5 years, it's been incredible.
It absolutely has, man. Well, dude, we are so happy for you. Proud of what you've accomplished. Can't wait to see what comes next. For those that don't know, stick shift, streetcar, shootout. They got a top fuel car, a freaking laser show, all these things going down at Speedfest, a joint effort between Sick, the magazine, Streetcar Takeover, and of course, Nate Prader's Bragging Rights, Beach Bend Raceway, May 28th through 30th, 2026. Be there, be square. 300 of the baddest streetcars on the planet, man. We're stoked for you, Nate. We can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it, buddy. Talk to you soon. Guys, I do want to remind you as we close out the show that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Strange Engineering. For more than 50 years, Strange has been a household name amongst racers and crew chiefs. Hardcore racing and performance street driveline and suspension components that flat out get the job done. Rear ends, axles, brakes, struts, shocks. If it's under the car and it matters, Strange has you covered. Don't just race Strange. Learn more at strangeengineering.net. Mike, JT, what's up, boys? Time
to
get the shoots out.
Yep.
Man, Nate sent me a care package from the Masters.
Did he?
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. I saw it on your Facebook.
Yeah. I mean, he was busy. He must have had some truckloads of shit.
He did. Did you see his layout of stuff that he brought back from the Masters?
I did. Then he's like, I made a second run today.
He had his own little merch store going on. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, Masters merch is a whole industry.
It is.
He even got me snacks even. I couldn't believe it. You know, moon pies, some chips. I was like, a candy bar. He probably thought I needed to put some weight on. I appreciate it. Yeah.
You know, and then he got you that badass pimento cheese hat.
Yep. I gave mine to you.
You gave yours to me. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I wore it over the weekend because it was, or was that last weekend? No, the Masters was this last weekend, right?
No, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it was last weekend. Golly, time is flying.
It does.
Isn't it crazy? Time is absolutely flying, man.
Absolutely.
No. Yep. It really is, dude. Mike, when do you head to ZMAX? Are you going out tomorrow?
Actually, I'll be out there tomorrow and Friday, and then probably Saturday. We'll see, weather dependent. And usually, by Sunday, I'm like, all right, I've done enough. I've done my part.
Yeah, you've done your part.
We'll be out there. We'll be out there Friday with
go for everything but eliminations. Yeah.
Well, watching the racing is such a small part of what you're doing. Like when we go to an event, like you just don't get to watch that much racing.
I don't watch a car go down the track. I mean, we'll be out there with Rick Belden doing our normal deal, shooting photos. Got a bunch of teams lined up and drivers lined up doing that. So it's a full day. Saturday is a full day. Saturday we go out and kind of hang out. I'm going to hang out with Tom and Cope and the DHR boys are going to have their bus. The Top End Club is doing
you'll be working real hard with those guys.
Yeah, we work really hard, man. Saturday, I want to give a shout out too. Saturday night is the Top End Club. They're doing their dinner, live music, auction to benefit draw. We'll have a couple of drag illustrated merchandise items up for auction that'll be going toward that. Those guys have raised over the course of the time they've been doing this, I think it's a little over 10 years, over $80,000 for draw, just doing their benefit. These are just some guys that got together, have a good time at the track, and then, started to get more and more formal with it. They've got a website, flyers now, like they're doing the deal. So really cool to see that.
They do a great job. And for those that don't know, the guys at the Top End Club, they feed the safety safari every night.
Well, they feed everybody. The food is available to anyone. They just ask for a donation, and all proceeds go to draw.
I just think it's cool that you go over there after the race is winding down, and you got all the NHRA safety safari guys over there grabbing a bite, and that's exactly how they.
Well, they're parked right beside the safety safari, so that if you know ZMAX Dragway, or if you're looking for it, they're literally right at the scoreboard on the right hand side. Like the right scoreboard, look there, and you can find them Saturday at like 5 or 6. I think it kicks off, so definitely check that out. And we'll have our guy Gary Palinkas, Gary's Carts, hooking us up with a golf cart, which you got to have at ZMAX Dragway. I got a whole squad of people with me too, so they're all thankful for the golf cart as well.
Yeah, huge shout out to our buddy Gary. I haven't seen him in forever. I think it's been like where did I see him? Did he come to one of the races this winter? Maybe
I don't think he did.
No, I think you saw him at ZMAX last time you came.
Maybe that's when it was. Yeah. It's crazy, man.
You used to come to this race. Now you don't come.
Well, I like coming to this race, but there's just a lot of stuff going on this time of the year, and then
you'll have to come to Rockingham. I think you'll see a lot of the same people. I haven't talked to Rodney or anybody at Top End Club, like what if they're going to do their deal at Rockingham, but I would imagine a lot of the same gang is going to be in Rockingham for the fall.
I'm telling you, I think that between Valdosta and Rockingham, those may be the two like craziest NHRA events of the year. Just a market that's not seen anything like that ever or in a real long time. I would argue ever. Big wedding, small church, baby.
Well, South Georgia has for sure. Yeah. Rockingham did back in the day. But then you've also got Budds Creek is going to get an event. I mean,
yeah. It's going to be a banger.
That we were talking about the Pro Superstar Shootout earlier. I really think that's these NHRA going to tracks like that. I think the Pro Superstar Shootout helped kind of, show that.
There's no doubt, because I don't think that those tracks would have even been on their radar, but I think that there was like, hey, we can make this work. You know what I mean? Like, I may have to spend a little bit of money, may have to make some investments, may have to do some things, may have to move some shit, but it's very doable. And no, I think it's a fantastic thing, man. I cannot wait to see the NHRA in those environments, man. I really can't. It's going to be awesome. Yep. Well, boys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And all of you joining us each and every Wednesday afternoon, Talk Drag Race, and we appreciate it. Remember, click like, click subscribe, and we'll see you next Wednesday right here on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel. Thanks, guys.
Later, y'all.
See you guys.